Hello everyone! Wars and Gold and a Roughy Basin. They received quite a bit of a visual upgrade, which got me thinking about the reasons why we fight within the Battlegrounds. Of course, there is honor and glory, loot and rewards, but lore-wise, why do we fight? What stories can be told?
To ask why we fight is to ask why the leaves fall.
Hovering high above the ravaged landscape of Netherstorm is the island known as the Eye of the Storm. Coruscating mana storms suffuse the island's towers with energy, even as they wear away the barrier between Outland and the Twisting Nether, the realm of the demonic Burning Legion. These nexuses of power and the Eye's proximity to the Naru fortress of Tempest Keep make an otherwise barren rock irresistible to the light-worshipping Draenei refugees of the Exodar and the driven Blood Elves of Silvermoon City. It's a 15 versus 15 domination battleground, where each side attempts to control the Mage Tower, Fel Reaver Ruins, Blood Elf Tower and Draenei Ruins for as long as they can. The Draenei, they seek to claim it due its proximity to the Naru's mysterious vessel, Tempest Keep, while the Blood Elves, they seek it for its rich energy deposits. So that's the official description, and Netherstorm is part of Outland, a world once known as Draenor, and back then, this area was called Farallon. This is the planet where the orcs come from, but it would change severely with the arrival of Velen and the Draenei. They were on the run from Kil'jaeden and the Burning Legion. The orcs, they were corrupted, manipulated, and used to wipe out nearly all of the Draenei. The corruption of their people, it reflected in the world itself. It wasn't doing too well, so the orcs, they ventured through the Dark Portal to conquer a new planet. Azeroth in this case, an invasion that ended in defeat. The second time that they journeyed to Azeroth, that was to claim artifacts of power, which would allow them to make portals to different worlds in the hopes of conquering those. Again, their invasion ended in failure, but the portals were created. All across its corrupted surface, portals opened up, causing massive damage and turning Draenor into the Outland as we see it today. Velen and those that had survived the war against the orcs, they prayed for aid. A call that was answered by the Naru and a dimensional fortress called the Tempest Keep. But Velen was not the only one that saw the arrival of the Naru. Kil'jaeden's Sunstrider and his Blood Elves, they did as well. They stormed the vessel and took it as their own. Velen eventually led some of his forces to storm the keep themselves. They managed to take the Exodar and escape Outland, but what they didn't know was that the Blood Elves had sabotaged the vessel, which caused them to have a massive crash landing on Azeroth. There, the Draenei teamed up with the Alliance, and when the Dark Portal opened up once more, they traveled back to take the battle to the demons, as well as Illidan, Kil'jaeden, and whatever else was a threat. Here we see it, Alliance and the new Draenei allies versus the Horde and the new Blood Elf allies, fighting here within the Eye of the Storm.
For the Horde!
For the Alliance!
So when the Horde invaded Azeroth for that very first time, there was the Warlock Gul'dan who exiled a clan of orcs called the Frostwolves to a valley deep in the heart of Alterac Mountains. The Frostwolf clan carved out a living until Thrall triumphantly united many of Azeroth's orcs. The Frostwolves, however, they chose to remain in the valley rather than join Thrall in Orgrimmar, and the relative peace has since been challenged by the arrival of the dwarven Stormpike expedition. The expedition's desire to mine and plumb the underexplored caves for relics has invited conflict with the Frostwolf clan, but opinions are divided on who it was that struck first. Were the dwarves who arrived in the valley actually peaceful explorers who were massacred by the orcs, or did they plan to poach and conquer? A question for the ages, one that our forces on the battlefield are far too busy to think about, as they're working hard at overcoming the enemy by taking bunkers, towers, summoning bosses, recruiting troops. The battles here, they could go on for days until only the general was left standing. Vendar Stormpike is the leader of the Stormpike expedition, whereas Drekvar, he's the one that showed Thrall the way of shamanism, and he fights here for his Frostwolf clan. Despite them seemingly being slain, this would not be the place where the story actually ends. Vendar Stormpike and their captain Belinda, they would eventually travel to the ruins of Southshore, making plans to unite the Stormpike with Ivor Bloodfang and his Bloodfang Worgen to take back Hillsbrad from the Forsaken and the Horde. Only because of the heroic sacrifice of a Kingslayer Orcus is the Horde informed of this attack. Then Drekvar, he leaves Alterac Valley as soon as the Burning Crusade, traveling to Outland to revisit the land of their people. He has aged quite a bit, up to the point where he was deemed too old and weak to serve in the Battle of Alterac Valley, not only by the long years of fighting, but also his prophetic dreams that take their toll. For example, he foresaw the coming of the Cataclysm, and now resides within Alterac, being taken care of by the Horde's captain, Captain Gelvengar. Seeing how the Frostwolves are still living within Alterac, it would suggest that the Frostwolves have won the battle, or at least they were not forced to give up their home. We know for certain that after the fall of the Lich King, the Alliance and the Horde, they got together to sign a peace treaty. Part of that was ending all hostilities, including the struggles within Alterac Valley, if only for a brief time, since the game is still World of Warcraft.
The drums of war thunder once again.
Roughy Basin is a mountain-rimmed valley with some of the most arable acres in the Eastern Kingdoms. The basin has long been a prime point of social development, offering lumber, gold, and prime grazing lands for livestock. It was only a matter of time before this fertile place was viewed through the sights of bows and guns. The basin's earliest days and original owners, they aren't even footnotes in history. The land frenzy driving Alliance and Horde now dominates the landscape. We have the League of Arafor, the remnants of the once proud kingdom of Stromgarde, now occupied by ogres and the criminals of the Syndicate that would claim the basin to profit their allies in Stormwind, and through them the whole of the Alliance. Set against them are the Forsaken Defilers, free-willed undead who strive to savage the human kingdom of Lordaeron and secure their home in the Undercity, and they demand Arafi's resources to do it. It's a 15 versus 15 domination battleground, where each side attempts to control the stables, blacksmith, mine, lumber mill and farm for as long as they can. So it was a long time ago when, within the Arafi Highlands, the different human clans, they gathered together and they formed a mighty capital called Strom. Eventually, their people would venture out and form different human kingdoms like Dalaran, Alterac, Stormwind, Gilneas, Kaltiris, and Lordaeron. It's that last one that would see some dire times, with Prince Arthas becoming an agent of the Lich King, and the plague which transformed its citizens into the undead, into the Scourge. They would, however, eventually regain control of themselves and rally behind Sylvanas Windrunner. They claimed the capital of Lordaeron for themselves, and they now go by the name of the Forsaken. Those are the forces here that we see clashing with each other, fighting over control of vital resource points. That is the key to victory. Control all 5 of them, and you're virtually guaranteed it.
Power to the Forsaken.
Another battleground that calls back to the early human kingdoms. That would be Tol Barad. Built over 1200 years ago, it was considered part of the Stromgarde area. But during the Second War, the Horde, they saw it as a prime target to take out. Unprepared for such aggression, the Alliance were expelled from Tol Barad and the Citadel was razed, a charred symbol of the Horde's brutal victory. What remained of the blackened, derelict battlements was left to languish until the Wizards of Kaltiris, they claimed the Isle for a new purpose. The towering walls were again stacked high from the war-scarred stones, but in their cleverness, the Arcanists turned the Citadel's defenses inward, designing a mystical prison to hold the most powerful of criminals. Danger lurks though, as Baradin's Hall's integrity has been compromised during the destruction of the Cataclysm. Now Tol Barad once again hosts a battle between the Horde and the Alliance amidst the conflict during the expansion. War Chief Garrus Hellscream sent hand-picked elite warriors, known as the Hellscream's, reach to the island, charged with taking it from the humans. Defending it against them, there will be the Baradin's Warden. They claim ancestry from Stromgarde, are not shy of recruiting mercenaries to bolster their ranks, and they have guarded the island for generations. However, as the two forces fight for supremacy over the island, something sinister is taking over the prison fortress of Baradin Hold and the whole island in turn, with prison guards murdering each other or letting their charges free. Insanity amongst Alliance soldiers, undead corpses rising from the graves, and spirits reliving their final battles. A whole lot of daily quests that can be done on the peninsula, whereas the real battle, similar to Winter Grasp, that takes place in a timed manner. Every so often, the faction have a chance to defend or assault the keeps. That is how victory is earned here, by capturing or defending the free keeps in a match that lasts for 15 minutes. The winner of the battle gets access to a couple more quests in the center of the zone to earn a bit more reputation, as well as entry into the prison itself, where 3 bosses await. There's Argoloth, a massive pit lord so powerful that the cells of Dalaran could not contain it. Okutar, a demon that broke free out of its cage in this prison to then devour all the inmates in the western wing, which caused it to grow in size and effectively turn the whole wing into its new holding cell. And finally, Elizabeth, Mistress of Hate, has a malicious influence despite arcane wards restricting her powers. Her influence alone caused her guards to murder one another in sudden fits of rage. Her transfer to Barenhold prior to the Cataclysm, it's only aggravated the ruined prison's increasingly dire conditions. So, you might ask, who actually wins this battle? It seems to be that the demons do, as during the expansion Legion, warlocks return to Tol Barad for the Scepter of Sagaris questline, and there we see that the island, as well as the prison, it appears to be overrun by the forces of the Legion.
Our forces report decisive victories off the coasts of Daenerys and Tol Barad.
And then the final one we're going to be talking about today, that will be Wintergrasp. This is my personal favorite outdoor PvP zone, as it combines player versus player, as well as player versus environment kind of things, to unlock access into a PvE raid, with then PvE and PvP rewards. Of course, there's also this taking place in Northrend, which means there's a connection to the Titans. Overlooking the frozen plains of the Great Dragonblight and the inhospitable waste of Borean Tundra, lies a region known to the denizens of Northrend as Wintergrasp. Seated atop a high plateau, Wintergrasp has remained undisturbed for ages, its icy winds howling unheard amongst the ancient Titan fortifications that dot the landscape. However, an abundance of elemental materials and the strategically important Titan fortifications, they're making Wintergrasp the focus of a vicious tug-of-war between the Horde and the Alliance. It's no accident that Lake Wintergrasp is the seat of ceaseless battle. Every few hours on the lake brings another skirmish. The thunder of cannon fire and crunching tread of tons-weight vehicles repowdering the snow. Every outbreak of violence is a chance for a peon or peasant to find riches in the mines, or for an adventurer to seek treasure in the unearthly vault below the keep. Horde and Alliance fight for Wintergrasp plunder, but not blindly. If they bolster the war machine that brings down Northrend's horrifying undead, they buy the soldiers the hope to return home. And then there are the persistent rumors of an ancient Titan vault beneath Wintergrasp Keep. One can only marvel at the thought of what treasures may be waiting there. Depending on who won the last fight, you're either defending a vault or attacking it. The idea of having aerial combat that was actually a thing for Wintergrasp, but during development, they decided against it. Instead, we see different kinds of siege vehicles, towers to be captured, ranks to be earned, and siege weaponry. You either blow up the door and click on the relic inside the keep to claim it, or you run out the clock and you've defended the keep. Now engineering, it allowed the Goon Squad to capture the keep in under 2 minutes, which is ridiculously fast. But once inside, you'll have 2.5 hours to rage your heart out, and maybe even check out Arcaven's log, which explains more about what has happened here. On day 10, he writes that the Makers are gone and he's been left here to watch. On day 10,500, the halls are quiet, empty. I thought the Makers wanted me to watch the hall, but they never specifically said, Arcaven, watch the hall. Maybe it's okay if I watch outside too? It will probably be less boring outside. It's decided. I am now responsible for watching the hall and the outside. I shall take on my new responsibilities next month. The outside is much more open than the hall. There are convenient cliffs and mountains bordering it. I'm now confident that the Makers meant for me to watch this too. I hope that they don't notice that I've only been in the halls for the first decade. Been very boring outside. Arcaven go to sleep. Some noises outside, it get cold. This is most likely during the Sundering, which is over 10,000 years ago. This caused the land to split apart and send Northrend further up north. I invented a new game today. It's called Kick the Revenant. I made it from the front of the keep to the main road today. Before next year, I'm going to try to land it over the river. Arcaven wake up. Notice face feels soft. Not important. Go back to sleep. He's mentioning here the Curse of Flesh, which is from the old gods, designed to weaken the Titan Keeper's creation and make them more vulnerable to their corruption. This also literally gave them flesh. Creatures like gnomes, dwarves and humans, they're prime examples of what the curse can do. Large quakes outside, little people seem to be busy. Arcaven staying home. Some little green people came today. I've added them to my watching responsibilities. The little green people have built extra buildings here now. More buildings seem good. I think I will speak to them this week and thank them. I thanked one of the little green people today for the extra buildings. He told me that he will bring more people for me to watch soon. Lots of them. I'm excited to have more things to watch. The little green people brought a lot of others, pointed them at each other, and then they all started fighting. I have trimmed my watcher responsibilities back to the hall for safety. but I brought a lot of their baubles with me, so that it can maybe be less boring this time. Things have gotten much worse. I'm not sure what the makers want me to do. I'm trying to stay in my hall, but the violent people come in after me several times a day. They take my baubles. Alliance and Horde fighting a winter spring, attacking poor Arcaven and stealing his loot. My brothers are back. It turns out that they were sleeping in other closed-off halls. I'm a little mad that they left me alone to do all the watching, but I shared my shinier baubles with them anyway, because I'm tired of being alone and attacked all the time. The violent little people have started attacking my brothers, which is sad. They leave me alone mostly now though, which is not sad. I think they want the shiny baubles I gave away. I feel guilty. The little people come to Wintergrass from across the ocean, fight many times every day. Arcaven watch. At night, Arcaven sneak out and collect the armor that they leave behind. Arcaven try to fix. Tough to do. I love that we get a little bit insight on what it's like to be a raid boss, and then forgotten about teams as other bosses offer better loot. Poor Arcaven. But yeah, I think we'll be going on for long enough today. Next week, we'll finish up the list and cover the remaining battlegrounds. So for now, as always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and on to the next time, guys. See ya!